free estimates. PNP Tiki's is licensed and insured. Call 352-877-3307 for your very own tiki hut and more. That's 352-877-3307. PNP Tiki's.
So you need a credit card, but how do you choose? Let's compare the big banks to Florida Credit Union. They have rewards, and we do too. They have customer service. Hello, 24/7. They have celebrities. Hey, Danny. But with Florida Credit Union, there's no annual fee, no liability for fraudulent charges, and no 22% interest rates. Choose Florida Credit Union, and you'll not only have a great credit card, but you'll have the support and personal touch that the big banks, well, can't touch. Florida Credit Union, connecting your money to your life. Federally insured by the NCUA.
All right, 12 minutes before 8 o'clock. Beautiful Thursday morning. Don't forget there's a special 1 hour Veterans News this morning from 9 till 10. Hank Whitty will be here with Dr. Mark Knapp. And your questions are always an important part of most of these shows, most of these segments. Once in a while we'll have a guest who says, no phone calls. We don't want any phone calls, Larry. We don't want any. Did you get my memo?
Yeah.
Today's memo day, by the way. National Memo Day. I sent you an email memo. Did you get it?
Yeah, right.
We don't want any phone calls. What did I want to tell you? Oh, the Patriot Act. Do you know what the Patriot Act stands for?
No, I don't.
USA Patriot Act. I never knew it was an acronym.
Oh.
It's the USA part of it stands for Uniting and Strengthening America.
Okay.
Patriot stands for P, providing, A, appropriate, T, tools, R, required, I, intercept, and O, obstruct, and then T, terrorism. So, in other words, the whole thing stands for United and Strengthening America by providing appropriate tools required to intercept and obstruct terrorism Act of 2001, the U.S. Patriot Act of 2001.
I never knew it.
The thing was signed into law by President George W. Bush October 26, 2001, which, as you know, was just a little more than a month after the terrorist attacks of September 11th, 2001. The country was ripe, it was a perfect time for our government to say, you know what we need? We need something where we can tap into people's communications back then, a little more primitive than they are now. But still, we were already engaged in electronic transmission of email and I guess texting, and all of that was happening. So this was pretty much something we all said, this is a good idea. Go for it, George W. Bush. We want this. And now Rand Paul, somebody I've admired for a while. I can't say I disagree with much of what he has said, but he is protesting against legislation to extend much of the National Security Agency's spying program, also known as the Patriot Act, before a vote expected this week. Paul, who is seeking the 2016 Republican presidential nomination, has said he will attempt to delay consideration of the bill with an extended floor debate. He said in a quote in the news, "There needs to be a thorough and complete debate about whether or not we should allow our government to collect all our phone records all of the time. Do we want to live in a world," he asks, "where the government knows everything about us? Do we want to live in a world where the government has us under constant surveillance?" he asks. We could debate this, because you could say, yes, we do, because I'm not doing anything wrong, so what difference does it make to me? Others will say, no, they have no business. Our Constitution forbids search and seizure. The Constitution forbids. I mean, unless there's what do you call an affidavit from the judge?
Yes.
When the judge gives the authority to a warrant.
A warrant.
He said we should be in open rebellion, saying enough is enough. We're not going to take it anymore. Paul sent an email to his donor list pledging to filibuster until he got votes on amendments that would end bulk data collection and revise the national security letter process. He says, "I will not rest." He wrote this in a fundraising email. "I will not back down. I will not yield 1 inch in this fight so long as my legs can stand," unquote. He told supporters in Philadelphia earlier this week that while he lacks the votes inside the Beltway to stop the bill to extend government surveillance powers, he thinks he has them outside Washington. Do you agree? I want to hear from you. Tell me what you think. I know the phone's been ringing, so let me now stop talking and let you talk. Good morning. What do you think?
Morning, Larry. This is a really important topic, and I'm glad you took a few minutes to talk about it. The Patriot Act has been abused by the government to do things that it was not intended to allow, and a recent court decision said that exact thing. In my opinion, parts of the Patriot Act are unconstitutional, but I'm not a Supreme Court justice, but it's going to eventually go to the Supreme Court. Every member of Congress, every federal official, including Rand Paul, takes an oath to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States. And if any senator, whether it's Rand Paul or Nelson, doesn't matter, if they see something that they think is happening that is unconstitutional, it is their sworn duty.
That's right.
To stand up and say something about it. So I really applaud Senator Paul for doing this. There is another element of this that's really annoying me, and that is that they have scheduled to vote on this right before their Memorial Day break. And I need to add that Congress, I think it's a 10-day break they take, starting Memorial Day weekend. That is absolutely ridiculous. But there's so many crisis things happening in this country that they're going to take a 10-day break. That's unconscionable. But they have scheduled this vote and a couple of other important votes too, right before the Memorial Day weekend. And you know why they do that, Larry? Because they know these congressmen and these senators want to go home, and they pressure them to hurry these votes without really having an adequate debate. Sometimes they don't even read the bills. They hurry them to have these votes on these important issues right before the holiday because they know they can jam it through because everybody wants to catch their plane and go home. And if George Washington and Thomas Jefferson and John Adams, James Madison, the other founders of this wonderful republic we have, if they saw what's going on, they would be horrified to see how the Constitution is being bent and twisted, and how the people of this country are being manipulated by the people that we elect to represent us in Washington. And I'm sure other people want to talk, Larry, so I'll hang up now. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Pete. Wonderfully said. Gosh,
yeah,
there's nothing to add to that. Every time I hear Pete talk, I think I want him in office. Let's take another phone call. Good morning. What do you think?
Well, I think it's wrong. I mean, if they use this spying just like they use like Facebook, for example. Say you're on Facebook and you post something like you don't like Obama or something else. Your future job or the job you have can look at it and say, oh, we don't like your views, and then you're fired. So who knows, what the government spying. Well, say you want a government job, or you say something, that's deemed to one of your friends on the telephone, and they say, oh, that's racist. Next thing you know, you're all over, losing your job, or, they don't even need to charge you nowadays. They can just hold you indefinitely as a terrorist without any charges. So I think it's very scary.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you. Appreciate the call.
Have a great day.
Thank you. The phone lines are up if you want to call. This is a great time to call because I won't rush you because you got a good 4 minutes to talk. 622-9622. I will not talk unless I need to, and I need to because nobody's on the phone. But you can call 622-9622. Anyway, those who've looked at this say that Rand Paul's speech is largely symbolic because the Senate hasn't yet taken up the NSA bill at all. The chamber is preparing for a procedural vote on trade legislation, a vote that Rand Paul can delay until today or this afternoon. He can't prevent it. A spokesman for Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, his name is Don Stewart, said yesterday it was too soon to say what, if any, amendments would be allowed to legislation extending the NSA program. McConnell opposes the House bill and has given no indication he would allow senators to try to amend it. Rand Paul started his speech at 1:18 yesterday afternoon and spoke for almost 2.5 hours before yielding to a question without relinquishing control of the floor. He answered the question and continued speaking through the afternoon and early evening. After more than 4 hours of talking, Paul outlined 6 amendments that he and Senator Ron Wyden, an Oregon Democrat, want to offer when the Senate considers the surveillance measure. One amendment would prohibit the government from requiring companies to build back doors into their products to allow law enforcement agencies to conduct surveillance. Did you hear that part? One amendment would prohibit the government from requiring companies to build back doors into their products. Wow.
Gee.
So you have a passcode to get into your phone.
Yes.
But this amendment would prohibit the government from requiring companies to build that back. I had to read it a few times before it sunk in.
Yeah, I had to hear it a few times.
So you think about what that's saying, that they are trying to set something in place so that the government can't in the future say, okay, all of these American people and world people have all these devices with passcodes, but we have a special way in.
Exactly.
The Justice Department warned lawmakers yesterday that failure to act on the law quickly will disrupt intelligence gathering. They want to keep it. Unless Congress renews the provisions of the existing law or enacts a modified version, the NSA will begin taking steps to wind down bulk collection of phone call data, according to the story. So I guess you will have the argument that we've had some 911 copycats that were thwarted.
Yes.
Because of the Patriot Act. Mm-hmm. It is above my head. I have no idea if that's true or not, but we have heard stories. We got 1 minute. Good morning. You're on the air.
Yeah, I'm calling back again. Sorry to bother you again.
That's okay.
But, I think it's kind of funny how they're so worried about terrorists and spying, and they leave our borders over where anybody, not just South Americans, anybody can come through. So, I mean, how secure really are we? It's a joke, really, to me.
That is a great statement.
Excellent.
That is a really great statement. And you know, every time somebody tries to argue about illegal immigration, I always think to myself, yeah, 60% of them are working, 99% of them are harmless. But you don't need many people.
No.
Yeah, my friend told me that they just list other. Well, other, they said there's a lot from these terrorist countries is considered other.
Yeah.
We American people, we're not scared of other because that's the way they don't tell us.
Yeah. Thank you. I'm up against the clock, but really great comment to end the segment with. All right, we'll be right back.
Broadcasting from the Paddock Mall Studios, this is WOCA, Ocala, Gainesville, The Villages, 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, The Source.